everybody, and thanks for joining me today. So, we're still on the fountain, although we are getting closer and closer to that edge. The swans are pretty much done, so we just have the rest of the pattern to do. Let me take a look here. Oh, I think I parked one incorrectly. Oh, perhaps I did not. Oh, I colored one in as done and it isn't done, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, that's what I did. That is no problem. I can fix that. So I'm on this color here, and this one here I'd marked as done when it actually wasn't, so my stitch count will be slightly off. That is okay. I think that's it for this color in this area, yeah, because this is the last little swan. So not necessarily working from the top down here, just as usual from the top left to the lower right. Yeah, so then we have a bit of smoke from a new wildfire. Oh dear. Yeah, unfortunately, like I said, I won't complain too hard because we're not at risk, so if we're just having to deal with the smoke, we're pretty lucky in comparison. Yeah, I guess it was I don't know, a drought in a lot of areas. Here it rained quite a bit for the first part of the summer, although the second part did heat up. So yeah, things are drier, so they burn easier. Unfortunately. Yeah, so I had to move my frame recently. I think I have about 4 more frames shifting across the pattern before we're done this horizontal pass. Then it'll be time for the next one. On the home stretch, woohoo! Yeah, so I'm supposed to get my new Morgan lap stand delivered today. We'll see if it actually shows up. See how I like it. Yeah, nothing really compares to my floor stand, but I want something that is more portable. And also if I'm switching between projects, because I, as I often say, too tired to do this intricate counting complicated stuff, but I still want to stitch, then yeah, oh, did I park this one wrong? Nope, I didn't. Oh, I have, oh geez, that's because I'm looking at the wrong thread. Haha. I thought it was a darker color for some reason, but no, of course it's not. I knew that. Got myself mixed up there. Yeah, but switching frames in and out of my clamp floor stand is kind of a pain, so I need one that I need somebody to make something where the clamp is like spring-loaded instead of these bolts that you have to tighten. That would be much easier to switch frames in and out of, I think. I'm sure such a thing probably exists, but I haven't sought it out yet. Oh, am I doing this right? Or am I doing something wrong? Nope. 1, 2. So how come the one above this isn't done? Okay, hang on a minute. Oh, okay. What have I done here? Oh yeah, I didn't do these either. My gosh, I tell you. I swear I know how to count. Didn't sleep so good last night. That's my my story. 6. Okay, so yes, that's what I want. This one. I don't know why I'm marking stuff as completed when it's not been completed. Getting ahead of myself there. All right, that's all right. I can fix it. Yeah, like I said, and this is why I take the trouble to grid. Trying to figure out where I went wrong without grid lines. Much tougher. Oh, pardon me. Okay. Now we have it parked in the correct spot. Okay. Okay, so now this one. Okay. Now we've got it. Okay, I'm going to do this one because there's only one stitch of this. Then I can be done with it. Yeah, I kind of had to go down the diagonal a bit and work my way back up, so that happens sometimes. Looks like we're going to have some bigger areas of the same color, though, coming up soon, so yeah, should be good. So yeah, our guinea pig got her second hormone shot, and it looks like her fur starting to grow back in the places where it was starting to fall out, so yeah, hopefully she's good now. Because yeah, they say if it's just cysts on her ovaries, then she'll be okay. If it's tumors, then that's not going to help. Poor thing. Okay, let's see. Oh, look at that. And then this one was done, and I didn't mark it as done. Oh, I tell you, that's where it's parked. My gosh. Oh, and then that one is, yeah, oh, now I parked these two. I tell you. Oh my goodness. This is what happens when I park stuff based on other stuff that I've parked and not on the grid line. I parked one wrong, which means I parked a whole bunch wrong. Yeah, I know I should use my grid lines and not other colors that I have parked to do this correctly, but unfortunately, I don't always follow my own good intentions. Okay, let me see. 1, 2. Oh, I see. Okay, I did those. So actually, I think this is correct. Yeah, what I did was I did a different color that was so similar. That's why I ended up coloring stuff I didn't, because I went one square off of where I was supposed to be working. Silly me. Fortunately, I was making similar shapes in these places, so we were able to get away with it. Yeah, similar colors, and sometimes it's similar looking on my pattern. I end up one big square off of where I was supposed to be. Silly me. Okay, so now I'm parked here and done that there. Okay, I think I'm back on track. I hope. 3, 3, 6, 3. And I have 3, 6, 3. Or, yeah, left of this color. That's kind of funny. Like weird numbers like that. Okie doke. Our guinea pig was pretty active today. Usually when I take her to her cage lately to clean it, she's kind of sits in one spot, but today she's actually wandering around, so maybe she's feeling better too. Although yeah, she is older, so her mobility is not what it used to be. As happens to all of us, right? Okay. Yeah, this shaded stitch and the number 4, the color 317 and 413 are very similar. And that is why I mixed them up. We got it all sorted out in the end, so we're good. Okay. Oh yeah, so if you've listened to my previous videos, you know that my son and I have a Rickroll battle going on. So my friends online are always tagging me and stuff that I can use, and yeah, there was one we got him really good. It's supposedly says it's 2 paintballs hitting each other in slow motion. And they did just the right timing. It really gets you invested as you're watching, you know, one come out of one gun and then one comes out of the other gun, and they're slowly going towards each other. And just as they're about to hit, it Rickrolls you. It's like, oh, come on. Oh. Yeah, with the slow motion, they really had you on the edge of your seat there. And I was like, oh, come on, you jerks. Oh, that one tied itself into a knot. Ah, good. Yeah, sometimes you can stick the needle in the loop and kind of pull it free, but sometimes that makes it worse. So it's this kind of a luck of the draw thing as to, yeah. Yeah, so the colors here are kind of going opposite because of the way the picture is, right? The fountain wall is kind of going opposite of the direction of the diagonal, so that tends to mean I have to switch threads more often. Whereas when it's going more in the same direction, yeah, kind of flows that way. So, but that's okay. I just adapt. Some people might continue to carry on with it and just sort of change the direction of their stitching or whatever. Totally up to you. Okay. Okay, so we're getting close to the edge of the diagonal here, so there'll be a few threads that I can just tuck away. Oh, neighbor's dog barking, but hopefully they're not going to get bad this weekend. It's awful. The dogs barked for like 6 hours straight. Oh my gosh. I was going to complain, but they seem to have not been doing that, so that's fine, yeah. But yeah, it's kind of wild. Like I would turn on, you know, some music or something. Then turn it off when I was done, you know, washing dishes. And it's like, they're still barking. So, you know, sit down and watch some ER. Get up for a break and they're still barking, you know. Went outside to get my husband from the garage because it was the weekend. You know, come on in and have some lunch. I've made it. And they're still barking. Oh my gosh. Like, don't their throats ever get sore? Oh dear. Yeah, it was just wild. Like I was thinking, I was at the point like, do I need to go over and check that you guys are, you know, okay? Your dogs aren't barking because they're, you know, trying to get someone's attention because you're in trouble or something? But no, they were there. Just, I don't know. Yeah, we have one neighbor who randomly likes to set off fireworks at like 2 in the morning. He's like, come on. And there's no rhyme or reason either. Because like, he didn't when it was Canada Day or something. Because I thought, you know, probably do that. No, they didn't. They just randomly do it. Scare the heck out of me. It's like, come on, guys. You can set off fireworks, fine, whatever, if it's legal. But, you know, do it before 10. Don't do it at 2 a.m. That's just rude. And illegal, actually. Okay, 414. Or yeah, when we were visiting my in-laws and some neighbors coming home at 4 a.m. and slamming the car doors and talking like loudly. It's like, oh, I wanted to yell out the window. Like, people are sleeping. But, you know, obnoxious people like that, they'd probably just be louder. So I just got up and shut the window. It's summer, so we were, you know, sleeping with the window open to try and get some cool air in there. Oh, like, weren't you raised better than that? To have a little consideration for other people? I certainly do. Okay, so this one is done. Yeah, or there's the train conductor. Like, I read about how long they're supposed to actually sound the horn, and this guy, I guess he hasn't read it or whatever, because he really likes that horn. Oh, I've had sometimes like, okay, you're approaching the crossing, we get it. But then I guess they got it because there was a few years ago, it was very thick fog in the morning, and unfortunately there was a truck driver who ran right into the side of the train because he couldn't see it. So yeah, it was really sad. He unfortunately didn't survive. Well, I mean, I guess you're supposed to slow down when it's foggy like that, right? But you never know. We had one year, it was January, and I picked up my son from high school, and we were just going to do a quick stop into Walmart to grab something. I can't even remember what or whatever. But we had a whiteout, and it picked up like out of nowhere. It was sort of like, oh, there's a few flakes of snow. And then all of a sudden it was like, seriously, within 10 seconds, I couldn't even see the taillights of the truck in front of me. Like, I had never seen snow come up that fast. And so thankfully, we made it into the parking lot. And then I was afraid to get out of the car and walk across to go into the store because I thought, well, what if somebody's barreling along in this snow and they don't see us and they won't be able to stop in time, you know? We'll get killed. So we sat in the car with the engine running to keep the heater going, and just sat there and waited for a break in the storm. And yeah, as soon as it lifted even a little bit, and I was like, okay, we're going home. So yeah, we crawled home. Everybody was crawling, going about 30 kilometers, which I think is like 15 miles for those of you who use miles, but like school zone, speed. And yeah, crawled all the way home because I was at the point where I was afraid I was going to have to call my husband to come rescue us and abandon the car because I don't have a lot of experience driving in that kind of condition. He's been driving way longer than I am because he learned as a teenager, and he's 5 years older than me. So yeah, and he grew up in the mountains, so he dealt with snow quite a lot. And I didn't. I grew up on Vancouver Island until I was like 15. So, and I didn't learn to drive till my early 20s. So yeah, he's been driving way more. But fortunately, yeah, as soon as we got that break in the storm, I thought we could run across the street and run into Walmart and grab that one thing. But I was like, you know what? We really don't need it that bad. It wasn't like it was a medication or anything. So at that point, I just said, no, we're going to head home because for all we know, we'll run into the store to grab the thing. And by the time we come out, it'll be whiteout conditions again, and I'll be afraid to even cross to the car. So yeah, I felt so bad though, because there were a few cars I saw that were they'd gone up onto to curbs or, the like those barriers on the side of the road, and they were kind of stuck on them, and it's like they had their hazards on and stuff, but it's like, well, I can't really help you. I haven't got, a big enough vehicle or a winch or anything. So yeah, I can't really help you. Although a lot of them were abandoned because they were in a residential area, so people took shelter in nearby buildings and such. Yeah. Yeah, my husband was out of town, and they almost shut that highway down out of town coming through. I was thinking, you're going to have to stay in the building you're working in because, if they shut down that highway, if you take it anyway and you get in trouble, they're not coming for you. So, yeah. But fortunately, it cleared up enough that they did not shut that highway down. So he was able to get home. And of course, he was worried about us. Saying, is it bad there too? Yeah, it was. So yeah, and I was saying to someone, this is why in the winter I don't let myself go below a half a tank of gas, because you never know when you're going to end up stranded somewhere in the middle of a blizzard or whatever, or whiteout, and you need to stay warm. Yeah, and I also like to keep like blankets and stuff in my vehicle, flashlights, just in case, because you never know. You always hope that nothing will happen. I like to keep a couple granola bars too in there, and some bottles of water, and then that way, yeah. Well, of course, in the winter that doesn't do much good because they freeze. But yeah, be prepared just in case you gotta camp out for a while. wait for rescue or whatever, that you're prepared. Yeah, I actually was a Girl Guide, so that was our motto, be prepared. Yeah, I did that for a couple of years. Okay, just gonna see what I'm gonna do. Trying to finish this area here first before I continue on downwards, so that I don't have too many needles in play here. Yeah, Girl Guides was when I took my first aid certification. Yeah. Yeah, things changed a lot. Because I remember we were being taught to not do the Heimlich maneuver unless a person's airway was completely blocked. So if they were able to still get a little bit of air, you weren't supposed to. And you were never, ever, ever supposed to hit someone on the back when they were choking. And now that's part of the protocol. Yeah. That you alternate between Heimlich maneuver and back blows, they call it. And yeah, and they don't tell you now not to do it about if the airway's completely blocked. So yeah, things change. Or I remember we were first taught to stop a nosebleed by tipping your head back, and then that changed, and no, now you're supposed to tip it forward, because if you tip it back, then you're swallowing blood, and that's not so good for you. So yeah, things change. So I guess that's why you gotta retake your certifications regularly. They're only good for a few years since things do change. Yeah, I think my son's going to get to do that this year as part of their gym class. They're going to do first aid certification. Yeah, or I remember they used to teach you when somebody was having a heart attack to put their feet up. The idea was to get more blood to the heart. And then that changed as well. And they said that, no, you don't do that because you could put more strain on the heart in that case. So yeah, it's interesting. But I mean, I guess that's how science is, right? You learn more stuff as you go. So they adjust things accordingly. Yeah, like some people are still using milk to flush out when people get chemicals and such in their eyes. And yeah, I was reading a thing more recently that was saying, don't put anything except for sterile, distilled or whatever, but don't put anything except clean water into the eye, because milk can cause infection. It can clog tear ducts, and and that it doesn't really neutralize, pardon me, it doesn't really neutralize any chemicals the way they thought it would. So yeah, they said the best thing is still just flush it with water and seek medical attention, obviously. Yeah. So, man, I remember when I was a kid and I would always get so scared to use the little eye wash cups. And but then I was climbing a tree one day, and it was one of those that had, kind of papery bark on the outside. Yeah, a piece of that fell in my eye. Oh my gosh, it felt like having a razor blade in there. It was like one of the most painful things I ever experienced. And then my mom said, well, you want to use this eye bath? And I was like, yeah, okay, I'm desperate. I'll use anything at that point. And then I discovered, oh, it's actually not that bad. So yeah. Yeah, I taught my son to use that. So yeah, they said it's funny, like your eyelashes are meant to keep things from falling in your eyes. I'm like, but 99% of the time when there's something in your eye, it's an eyelash. So I don't know how effective that is. Oh. But yeah, now I keep bottles of saline around, so if anyone ever gets anything. Yeah, I actually scratched my cornea one time. I was trying to remove an eyelash from my eye, and I scratched it with my fingernail. That was one of the most painful experiences ever. Oh my gosh. And I actually remember we had we had a general election like the next day. And so I had to walk in holding my husband's arm into the voting area, and he had to help walk me into the voting booth because I couldn't open my eyes. Even opening my good one put pressure on the injured eye. So I could basically just crack my eye open a little bit at a time every now and then. So yeah, he led me in, with my eyes basically shut. And then he stood outside the booth while I cracked my eye open. I marked the ballot, folded it up, and then we went back and dropped it into the ballot box. And I said to people, okay, I have a scratched cornea and I still voted today. So, you don't have an excuse. Yeah. Although fortunately, at least they do heal pretty quickly. By day 2, it was almost better. So, well, but yeah, that was bad. Or I had one time that I was carrying a container of cornstarch and I dropped it on the counter, and it was a tin with the lid, and the lid popped out of the top, and it just made this big geyser of cornstarch went in the air and went right in my hand. My gosh, that was so painful. I always thought in movies that people were overreacting when people throw dust or whatever in people's eyes. And after that I was like, okay, no, they're not. It is just instant. Everything shuts down. And I was blinded, so I had to stumble over to the sink to get to the water to rinse it out. But oh my gosh. And I was all by myself too, so yeah, I was sure glad at least I was in the kitchen and I knew where the sink was without needing to be able to see it, because yeah, that was not good. Oh dear. Yeah, and wearing glasses, yeah, not a substitute for safety goggles. I can tell you that because I had glasses on when that happened, and yeah, I still got that powder went right into my eyes, so. Okay, so this is right on the diagonal. I'm going to leave it threaded for now, but I'm pretty sure pretty soon I'm going to just tie it off. Okay. Yeah, my husband had the worst. He was using a grinder and he got a metal filing in there. Oh, I kind of looked at it and I'm like, yeah, I'm not removing that because I don't know. So yeah, he had to go to the emergency room to get that done. Yeah. So he always wears safety goggles now. Lesson learned. Yeah. Safety goggles and long sleeves when you're welding, because oh no, I'm in the wrong spot, aren't I? Yes, that's where I should be. Yeah. Not just for flying little bits of hot metal, but you can actually get a radiation, like a sunburn on your arm from if you weld for too long and it's not covered. He discovered that the hard way. Yeah. Because I mean, that's what a sunburn is, right? It's radiation burn. So yeah, it was wild. I got sunburned. I mentioned this a couple months ago. Got sunburned during my son's triathlon. And the skin is still darker there. This is, over 2 months later. Driving me mad. And I've been using I used a scrub. But it's still hanging around. And so I went and I bought this scrubbing mitt that's supposed to remove tans or whatever. So we'll see if it works. Because I may have to go to the doctor and ask to talk to a dermatologist. Because, yeah. I've been burned before, but it fades from a burn into sort of a tan in a couple days. And then usually by a week it's gone. And this one is really, really hanging around. Although it is probably the worst one I've had in quite a while, so yeah. I don't know how I almost always seem to miss a spot when I'm putting on sunscreen. So I'm pretty diligent about putting it on, but yeah, unfortunately. goodness me. Oh, pardon me. Okay, so this one, I'm going to park out of the diagonally now. There. Yeah, so we're almost done filling this in. Then we'll move further down and continue the process. Okay. Oh, pardon me. Okay, so I have 2 threads of this color, so I'm going to carry this one further over. Yeah. Yes, I don't know if I mentioned before, we've been watching the new Lord of the Rings show, Amazon Prime. That's been pretty good. Yeah, I read they put like $458 million into making. Like, holy moly. But it's already been renewed for a 2nd season, so I guess it's doing well. Yeah, and the 2nd season of The Wheel of Time is supposed to be back soon. So looking forward to that as well. Yeah, I'm not much of a fantasy reader, but I will watch it. And yeah, I remember I was on a podcast saying that it's because if it's a book, you have to do a lot of world building in your head. Whereas when it's done on a screen, they do a lot of it for you, right? So yeah, because I was kind of always wondered why I couldn't get into sci-fi books and such, when fantasy books, as much as I was when it was visual medium. And yeah, I guess that's why it's more brain power. Yeah, it's like I read historical, but I haven't really branched out from the time periods I read a lot for a while, because again, mental energy to to handle it, to do the world building. If I read like a Regency or a Edwardian or something, I know the rules of that world, right? I know what the fashions look like and such. So yeah, there's a lot less mental load in reading that. Although I do still branch out. Yeah, I remember actually before self-publishing really, kind of exploded and changed the landscape, you just could not get a historical romance published that wasn't set in either like the American frontier or Regency England. And I remember like they would tell people, oh, well, nothing else sells. I'm like, well, how would you know there's nothing else on the market? It got to the point where this one blogger, she would have a list of ones that would say historical, not a ballroom, because that's how often people would be requesting, can I get historical that is not a Regency? Somebody said like the Regency only lasted for a few years. We've been writing about it, way, way longer than it actually was around. Yeah. Because Regency was when King George III had, gone mad or whatever. And so his son was ruling as the Prince Regent. So it's called Regency. Yeah, and it was interesting. I was actually, there was a movie we watched when we were in high school studying that time period. I think it was called like The Madness of King George III or something like that. But there's speculation by historians that he had porphyria, which even nowadays is very, very hard to diagnose. It's a liver disease that causes certain proteins or whatever to build up, and it affects your brain. But yeah, apparently a lot of people who have it these days, even now, can struggle to get an accurate diagnosis, and will often end up undergoing exploratory surgeries and things, and nobody can find an answer. It's kind of like a unicorn diagnosis, they say, because yeah, it's so rare, you almost never see it, so people don't know how to recognize it. And it some of the symptoms will mask other diseases, so yeah, it's often, like they said, a case of ruling out everything else. So yeah. Let's try not to split those. There we go. Split that thread, because that will not work. Let's see how long this piece is. Not very. Fluff coming up there. There. Fixed it. Yeah, so we had one last hot day, then I think we're done. Yeah, into mid-September. So for us, that means the snow is not far away, unfortunately. Yeah, when I was a kid, snow was a big deal. Because, of course, well, you're a kid, first of all, you don't have to worry about driving in it or anything. It often means time off school, at least if you live in an area where there isn't a lot of snow. But yeah, here, there's always snow all darn winter, so yeah, it's not so special anymore. Okay. Oh, pardon me. Here we go again. Oh. Okay. My guinea pig is eating hay, and it's hitting her water bowl. Sounds like she's playing the drums over there. I don't know if you can hear it on the camera, but oh, I could hear it. It sounds quite fun. Or like she's playing maybe not the drums, but like the chimes or something, or a xylophone or something. It's kind of high-pitched glass tapping sounds. Okay, those two, those, and we'll park. This one's still, okay, this one is still threaded, so I will do a couple more right along that edge and then park it. Okay, those are all unthreaded. So just set them aside. There goes her chimes again. If it's going to tie itself in a knot, I'd rather do it on top than I can see it. Fix it right away. So yeah, I've had a few times where I've had a knot on the other side and I didn't realize it, and then I made a lump. Trying to fix it was real pain, especially if you stitched all around it with other threads, then it really gets anchored in place. I know there are some people who like to end their threads by using waistlines, where they just thread it underneath and then stitch over it, and when it's stitched over they then trim it from the top. And I can tell you, stitching over it is pretty secure, because yeah, when you're trying to remove one of those threads, it is nigh onto impossible. So frustrating. Sometimes the only way is to end up cutting things, or sometimes you have to decide if you're willing to leave a little bit of a lump on the other side, if it's really worth fixing it, because pulling it apart is like trying to pull out teeth with tweezers. Or what was it that's Charles said on MASH, is like trying to raise the Titanic with tweezers. A whole bunch of them in a row. a difficult time finding the right spot in the fabric. Yeah, that's why I don't like to stitch on anything smaller. If I have to wear magnifiers to stitch it, I'm not going to enjoy myself. So yeah, I don't mind my great big projects. I could actually see I've done some 18 and that's okay, but I don't think I'm going to go any smaller than 18. And then I've seen some 20 count fabric, but then I've had people say it's kind of hard because 2 strands is almost too bulky for them, but 1 strand isn't really enough. So they find they end up having to go into an even higher count so that they can get away with using only 1 strand. But I'm like, yeah, at that point, I don't want to be 28 or even higher count because I'm going to go cross-eyed trying to look at it. Just will not be fun anymore. Yeah, and I've seen where some people have tried to sort of push themselves to power through it, but yeah, if you're not liking what you're stitching on, then you're probably not going to finish the project. And even if you do, I mean, if you're going to hate every stitch of it, what's the point, right? Yeah, it's supposed to be fun. You don't want to be dreading it. I think that's one of the absolute worst feelings, when something you once loved feels like a burden. It's sad. So I'm going to go park this here first because I'm going to do this stitch and park this one out. Then I can do the ones around it in this color. So do this one. Park this there and it's done. Then I'm going to do these 3. Make sure I'm in the correct spot. Yes, okay. I'm going to park that there. Okay. Ooh. Oh, dear me. Ugh. Okay, so that's a pretty long one. There's another thread of this color lower down. Just going to check. It's got some length to it, so I'm going to kind of juggle the 2. Oh my goodness. How did that get so far off? Are there any knots on the back? No? Sometimes that happens if there's a tangle on the back and it pulls one thread much shorter than the other, but no, doesn't seem to be. So I don't know why that happened that way. It's usually not that uneven, but no problem. We can just trim it if it is. These. Getting close to 81% here. Oh my gosh. I tell you, I do know how to use this this pattern keeper app. Ooh. Just keep hitting the wrong buttons there. I say buttons, but I mean there aren't really buttons involved anymore, is there? So it's all touch screen technology now. Okay. Yeah, I don't think we'll hit 81% on camera today. That'll still take a bit. I'm gonna wrap up pretty soon for today, I think. Yeah, love seeing this take shape. Yeah, so I don't know when we're going to reach the far right edge. Maybe October sometime would be my guess. Okay, that's a long one too. Yeah. There, didn't come up quite right. Oh, my goodness. Oh, pardon me. Okay, I think we'll wrap it up pretty soon. Do a couple more. Oh, another one that's quite uneven. Oh yeah, I was saying about stitching over other threads to make them secure. I had one time, my spare threads were kind of hanging down past the edge of my frame, and some of them got kind of folded along the back, and I accidentally stitched them into the project. I had to cut them. I could not get them free. The ends of them just would not. So yeah, I can tell you that's pretty secure. I still prefer to pin stitch to finish or draw along the back. I just don't like them being left loose until they're stitched over. I like to finish the thread without having to stitch over. I like to finish it like at that moment. Just makes me feel more secure and that it's not going to pull loose. Although, I mean, even with that, it still happens sometimes. So you never know. All right, put that there. Okay, I think I'm going to call it a day there. Oh, pardon me. Oh, I've got to get up and walk around and wake myself up again. So, as usual, thank you for joining me today, and hope to see you here again another time. Thanks, everyone. Bye.